In a semiconductor, which of the following carries can contribute to the current? Option R. A. Electrons. B. Holes. C. Both. D. None. Answer: both. The thermal equilibrium concentration of the electrons in the conduction band and the holes in the valence band depends upon: Option R. A. Effective density of states. B. Fermi energy level. C. Both A and B. D. Neither A nor B. Answer: both A and B. In which of the following semiconductor, the concentration of the holes and electrons is equal? Option R. A. Intrinsic. B. Extrinsic. C. Compound. D. Elemental. Answer: intrinsic. Which of the following band is just above the intrinsic Fermi level for N-type semiconductor? Option R. A. Donor band. B. Valence band. C. Acceptor band. D. Conduction band. Answer: donor band. Which of the following parameters can't be found with Hall effect? Option R. A. Polarity. B. Conductivity. C. Carrier concentration. D. Area of the device. Answer: area of the device. In the Hall effect, the electric field is in x direction and the velocity is in y direction. What is the direction of the magnetic field? Option R. A. X. B. Y. C. Z. D. Z plane. Answer: Z. For an ideal diode, which of the following is true? Option R. A. It allows the passage of current in the forward bias with zero potential drop across the diode. B. It does not allow the flow of current in reverse bias. C. All of the mentioned. D. None of the mentioned. Answer: all of the mentioned. The graphical method of modeling a diode characteristics is based on: Option R. A. Iteration method. B. Constant voltage drop method. C. Small signal approximation. D. Exponential method. Answer: exponential method. For small signal operation around the DC bias point, the diode is modeled by a resistance equal to the: Option R. A. Slope of the IV characteristics of the diode at the bias point. B. Square root of the slope of the IV characteristics of the diode at the bias point. C. Inverse of the slope of the IV characteristics of the diode at the bias point. D. Square root of the inverse of the slope of the IV characteristics of the diode at the bias point. Answer: square root of the inverse of the slope of the IV characteristics of the diode at the bias point. Efficiency of a half-wave rectifier is Option R. A 50%, B 60%, C 40.6%, D 46%. Answer minus 40.6%. Transformer utilization factor of a half-wave rectifier is Option R. A. 0.234, B. 0.279, C. 0.287, D. 0.453. Answer 0.287. Ripple factor of a half-wave rectifier is Option R. A. 1.414, B. 1.21, C. 1.4, D. 0.48. Answer 1.21. A transistor in a series voltage regulator acts like a variable resistor. The value of its resistance is determined by Option R. A. Emitter current, B. Base current, C. Collector current, D. It is not controlled by the transistor terminals. Answer, base current. Where should be the bias point set in order to make transistor work as an amplifier? Option R. A. Cutoff, B. Active, C. Saturation, D. Cutoff and saturation. Answer, active. Q point can be set to work on active region requires particular conditions. What are they? Option R. A. Be reverse biased and BC forward biased. B. Be reverse biased and BC reverse biased. C. Be forward biased and BC reverse biased. D. Be forward biased and BC forward biased. Answer, be forward biased and BC reverse biased. The Q point of a transistor is made to shift between active and cutoff region, then how does the transistor behave? Option R. A. Switch, B. Amplifier, C. Inverter, D. Buffer. Answer, switch. How many hybrid parameters are there in a transistor circuit? Option R. A. 16, B. 8, C. 12, D. 4. Answer: 12. Which external parameters affect the transistor hybrid parameters? Option R. A. Temperature. B. Collector current. C. Temperature and collector current. D. External parameters don't affect hybrid parameters. Answer: temperature and collector current. In MOSFET devices, the N-channel type is better than P-channel type in the following respects. Option R. A. It has better noise immunity. B. It is faster. C. It is TTL compatible. D. It has better drive capability. Answer: it is faster and it has better drive capability. In MOSFET, the polarity of the inversion layer is the same as that of the Option R. A. Charge on the gate electrode. B. Minority carriers in the drain. C. Majority carriers in the substrate. D. Majority carriers in the source. Answer: majority carriers in the source. The threshold voltage of an N-channel MOSFET can be increased by Option R. A. Increasing the channel dopant concentration. B. Reducing the channel dopant concentration. C. Reducing the gate oxide thickness. D. Reducing the channel length. Answer: increasing the channel dopant concentration. The gate delay of an NMOS inverter is dominated by charge time rather than discharge time because Option R. A. The driver transistor has larger threshold voltage than the load transistor. B. The driver transistor has larger leakage currents compared to the load transistor. C. The load transistor has a smaller WL ratio compared to the driver transistor. D. None of the above. Answer: the load transistor has a smaller WL ratio compared to the driver transistor. MOSFET can be used as A. Option R. A. Current-controlled capacitor. B. Voltage-controlled capacitor. C. Current-controlled inductor. D. Voltage controlled inductor. Answer: voltage controlled capacitor. The effective channel length of a MOSFET in saturation decreases with increase in option R. A. Gate voltage. B. Drain voltage. C. Source voltage. D. Body voltage. Answer: drain voltage. A MOS capacitor made using p-type substrate is in the accumulation mode. The dominant charge is due to presence of option R. A. Holes. B. Electrons. C. Positively charged ions. D. Negatively charged ions. Answer: holes. The full forms of the abbreviations TTL and CMOS in reference to logic families are option R. A. Triple transistor logic and chip metal oxide semiconductor. B. Tri-state transistor logic and chip metal oxide semiconductor. C. Transistor logic and complementary metal oxide semiconductor. D. Tri-state transistor logic and complementary metal oxide semiconductor. Answer: transistor logic and complementary metal oxide semiconductor. The gate oxide in a CMOS process is preferably grown using option R. A. Wet oxidation. B. Dry oxidation. C. Epitaxial deposition. D. Ion implantation. Answer: dry oxidation. Which one of the following processes is preferred to form gate dielectric of MOSFET? Option R. A. Sputtering. B. Molecular beam epitaxy. C. Wet oxidation. D. Dry oxidation. Answer: dry oxidation. In MOSFET fabrication, the channel length is defined during the process of option R. A. Isolation oxide growth. B. Channel stop implantation. C. Polysilicon gate patterning. D. Lithography step leading to the contact pads. Answer: polysilicon gate patterning. In CMOS technology, shallow P, well or N, well regions can be formed using option R. A. Low pressure chemical vapor deposition. B. Low energy sputtering. C. Low temperature dry oxidation. D. Low energy ion implantation. Answer: low energy ion implantation.